Welcome back to the AFC Newsday channel. My name's Dan George, his name's Matt, and we've got a packed show for you today. Welcome back, and I hope you enjoyed that video. It's a nice little intro that we've got now going on here on the AFC Newsday channel. We've got a special guest waiting in the wings who we'll bring in a second. But Matt, first of all, how are you going, my friend? How's your Thursday evening been so far? And how are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Obviously, coming to the end in the transfer window, so nice to keep up to date with that, and I'm sure we'll talk quite a bit about that. But yeah, really good, thank you. How are you?
Mate, I'm really good, thanks. I'm buzzing for tonight. Big welcome to Yambele in the chat. Hope you're well, my friend. Looking forward to seeing you on Sunday. Myself and Matt are now actually heading to the game, so we're buzzing, man, to get up for Arsenal against Man United on Sunday. But without further ado, let's crack straight on into it. We've got a special guest on the show today, and he goes by the name of AFC James. James, welcome to the show. It's been a while in the works, and it's great to finally have you on, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to be on. I've been watching you guys quietly for a while and enjoying what you've been doing. Obviously, that studio episode that everyone nicely saw in the introduction. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend, but I'm glad to be here today. And I was very impressed with your little intro, Dan.
Oh man,
you were advertising it to me in the pre intro, and I was excited to see what it was like, and it definitely exceeded my expectations. I'm very impressed.
You see, I've got some spare time on my hands now because I work evenings, and I had some spare time this afternoon, so I thought, you know what, let's jazz it up a little bit, make it a bit more professional. So, yeah, I definitely didn't like FaceTime Matt immediately and just go, you've got to look at this right now. But yeah, no, it's great to have you on. It's great to have you on, James. How's your day been? We've had quite a lot of action. We've had England squad announcement. We've had the big Champions League draw. Have you sat down and enjoyed the hour-long program they do at UEFA and watched all the picking out the balls? And how did you enjoy it? Did you watch it all?
I tried not to watch it all. As I told you earlier, I do have a lot of work on at the moment. I should be doing my dissertation, etc. As I also said, I've had a very productive day, so I will give myself the little time on the side to get stuff done. And yeah, I saw the draw, really excited about Eddie, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. And I saw the England lineup, and then the Champions League draw, which, as always, they decorate with flowers and make it absolutely way longer than it needs to be. But I was willing to sit through it all because it's been a long time, as you both know. So yeah, it was. I watched it all. It was good fun, and also shout out to Rashmin, who Yem knows as well. She was obviously presenting, and also I did not know she could speak Spanish, so I was very impressed with that. So yeah, it was a good draw, and I'm very happy with the outcome too.
So let's get straight into it. Arsenal have drawn Sevilla, PSV, and Lens. Did you say Lens? How would you say it? Am I just being too extravagant trying to say?
I think Lens.
Lens.
I think yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people kind of saying, we come to the Champions League and we've got a Europa group. Matt, what's your immediate reaction to that? Are you happy that you've not got any of those kind of big names in the group, or would you have liked to seen a PSG or a Bayern Munich or a big team like that popped into there as well?
I think having a boring group is as good as you can hope for. I mean, I was kind of hoping we'd have one big team. Boring in terms of Sevilla, who we played in pre-season last year or the year before that, and PSV, who we played last year. Lens is quite a fun one. I think that's an interesting one, but they've lost their best players. And it's almost even nicer the fact that every single team in our group is losing key players at the minute and not having the best start to their campaigns. So that helps us too. I think travel is a huge part. It's very nice for people who want to do away days in France, Holland, and mine's gone blank setting. But yeah, I think it's really nice as well, traveling wise, in between Premier League games. Is nothing too extravagant. I think it's max 2.5 hours to Spain, which is really friendly. If we got a big team, I wasn't going to be against it because it's fun to see us against a team like a Barcelona. Ideally, not a Bayern Munich, given how they are now and the past
history.
But if it happened, it happened. But yeah, really happy with the draw. As I say, it's not a bad thing that it's quite a boring in terms of the teams type draw. I think it's a decent one for the neutral because you've got no bad teams in there per se. It's all like good teams with European pedigree, even if not in the Champions League. So that should be an interesting one. But it does definitely feel like a Europa League draw more than a Champions League one. I felt like it was quite reminiscent of Spurs' last year, which I'm not complaining about. So yeah, should be a good one. It'll be nice to see who plays in those and hopefully top the group in good time.
Absolutely, guys. I can see there's plenty of people tuned in, and you might be thinking, what have I stepped into here? We are the AFC Newsday channel. Myself and Matt have regular episodes and streams every week. So please, if you could subscribe, if you could like the video, and turn on notifications, that would be greatly appreciated. And we'll bring you more content with incredible, sensational guests like AFC James. So yeah, it's great to have him on here. James, Newcastle, flipping heck. They've got one hell of a group, haven't they? I mean, even Yambele said it here. What a reintroduction to the Champions League. They've got PSG, Dortmund, and AC Milan. In some ways, you might be thinking, oh, poor Newcastle, no chance of going through. But at the same time, for their fans, they must be buzzing because you've got those big teams coming to Newcastle. You couldn't want any more, could you?
There's absolutely no aspect of me that's saying poor Newcastle. Frankly, I enjoy them getting thrown in the lion's den, and we'll see whether they sink or swim. I've been quite looking forward to Newcastle in the Champions League this season. I think the way they play is actually quite well suited to European football. It's more of a game of transitions than being able to keep a team in their own box. I don't know if it's just the emotions of European football or because play styles across the leagues are so different, but it is often the case that teams like... Have we gone? Are we still here?
We're still here. No, I just added some dramatic backdrop.
That's all right. Teams like Real Madrid, who thrive on transitions, just get their way in these competitions. So yeah, I'm really excited for that group actually, and I believe they are going to be playing the day after or the day before us every week. Which would be quite a nice one because effectively every single game in that group is going to be a good one, and I really do genuinely think that Newcastle can give any of those teams a game, especially at home. So there's that. And also, just to piggyback onto what Matt said previously, I'm very grateful that some of the games that we've got in terms of just being really close, lack of jet lag, because yes, at the same time, maybe there were slightly easier games in your Red Star Belgrades or your Shakhtar Donetsk. But at the same time, is it worth having to go to Ukraine away? Probably not. I believe that we should be able to wrap this group up fairly early without trying to sound too arrogant. We should be able to wrap this group up early, be able to rest players, and even those players that are traveling, etc., won't be having to go that far. And as a fan who's never been to a league game, actually, never been to an away league game, sorry, going to a European away game would be incredible. And since I have a lot of my time on my hands after my dissertation, I will do everything I can to find myself in one of those away pitches.
What are we saying? Boys' trip to Sevilla or something like that?
Absolutely. Any of the three, we will be there. We will
incredible.
Be there.
We will be there. Yeah, incredible. I mean, hopefully you'd think because they're fairly, close countries, there'd be plenty of flights and stuff like that. Because I don't know if you guys remember that cursed Europa League final. There was so many tickets still available just because a lack of flights. But I think the countries Arsenal have got are fairly easy to get to, like you said. So it'd be incredible to go to European away day.
The finals at Wembley. So it's written in the stars.
The finals at Wembley. That would be incredible. I don't think we'd get quite as many of us there as the community.
I was going to say good luck for tickets for that. It's not happening.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, Jaden's agreeing with you here, James. Travel's much better for Arsenal. Yembele reckons PSV are a dark horse. in the competition in the group. Who do you think tops the group? Do you think Arsenal should be looking to top the group and then just the rest of them battle it out for?
We definitely hope so. I don't know if you saw the tweet I made, but there was underneath the Sevilla Twitter account, someone commented in Spanish, and if you translate it, it was something like there were two different comments. One was like, "Let's hope we can finish second because first is impossible" or something, and then someone else tweeted in Spanish saying something like, "If we forfeit this game already, we can only lose 3-0 to Arsenal. That would be a success." I think the other teams, at least the fans from those teams, are definitely not confident being in the same group as us, which is a nice change, because in previous years we've not really had the respect that a club of Arsenal size warrants. But I guess it's nice to feel like one of the big boys again and back at the top.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was watching the game and the Champions League lights and the music and the production and the way it all looks, it just gives you goosebumps, doesn't it? And today, I don't know why, but I've just kept seeing that video of Remedy just doing the Europa League anthem. Mate, I hadn't seen that before, and it just cracking me up every time. Matt, what are your aspirations for the Champions League? Anyone watching, please do feel free to comment down below. Let us know what you make of the group. Please subscribe. Do you think Arsenal have got a favourable group? Would you like to see Arsenal get one of the big boys, maybe get them out of the way early? But Matt, what are your aspirations for the Champions League? Do you think Arsenal should really, really be focusing on this competition?
It's tough to say, because I think on paper we're one of the strongest teams in Europe, but I also don't think we have that right to just suddenly say, oh, we should go win it or go get to the semi-finals or anything, because as good as we are, it's a fine margins game and it's a very different format to the likes of league games. And we haven't been in the competition for 7 years, as Arsenal have reminded us, telling us how the Champions League works. But yeah, we haven't been in it for 7 years. So I don't think we have a right to say, oh, we've got to get to the semi-final, we've got to get to this. But I think quarter-final would be a good benchmark. I think we've been very blessed with the draw. And at the end of the day, Champions League can be very luck dependent. If we got a favourable run in, then I'd hope we could go as far as anything, really. And I'd hope we could go as far as anything in general. But as I say, all it takes is one slip up or one moment, because it's such fine margins in these games. So I think stamping our authority in the Champions League without unrealistic expectations should be the best aim, really. Get back into it, make it a consistent, and see how we can do. Make the group light work. I don't want to see any craziness with that, and see where we go from there.
James, I will ask you, when the Champions League comes around and rotation opportunities come around, in the cup competitions, do you think that, I mean, I'm hoping we do see him, but do you think we will see this man, Emil Smith Rowe? Because he's not seeming to get a minute within the current Arsenal matchday squads in the squad he's in, but he's not coming onto the pitch. He's not getting any minutes, so to speak, at all so far, and he really kind of dried up minutes towards the back end of last season too. Do you hope to see Emil Smith Rowe in the cup competitions when they come around?
What I will say is I think some of the talk of him not touching the pitch so far has been a little bit exaggerated, because, for example, in games when Tomiyasu got sent off, it was very unlikely he was going to come in that game. We were sitting back defending. And in the Forest game, I think we did a similar thing. We put men behind the ball, sat back and defended. And that's not Smith Rowe's game, is it? So it was unlikely we were going to see him. And even in the last game, we needed a goal. We had Jesus on the bench. We had Fabio Vieira. We had talented players on the bench. I don't really think there was that much room for him to come on. And that is just a credit to our squad being so deep at the moment. I don't think that's necessarily a dig at him not being good enough. It is just a state of the pecking order, because had Smith Rowe come on instead of Fabio Vieira, we'd be having exactly the same conversations about Fabio Vieira. And it's very unlikely that both of them could come on. And ultimately, Fabio Vieira came on and changed the game. So Arteta's decision was vindicated. And yes, I do think we'll see him more in cup competitions. And interestingly, I do think Champions League really suits his game, as I mentioned before, because there's a lot of space to run into. There'll be transitions. I think in the Champions League, we will be more pragmatic in the sense that we will come up against big teams that we have to show respect to and play on the transition. which is more suited to Smith Rowe's game of covering large distances with the ball, as opposed to Fabio Vieira, who is suited against playing a block and breaking them down. Hence why Vieira came on at that moment, but maybe on another day, Smith Rowe would come in for his game. So no, I'm not particularly concerned about the Smith Rowe thing. I think there's definitely room for him to come on in the cups. And yeah, I think the exaggeration, people have naturally, especially considering we didn't win all 3 games. I think had we won the game, people wouldn't even be talking about it. But yeah, people like to find things to say. What went wrong? Was it Havertz? Was it Smith Rowe, etc.? And I think in this case, it's just been a byproduct of good squad depth, which is not really an issue. But what is an issue, which we might go on to talk about today, is our defensive depth, which unfortunately doesn't look like it's going to be solved.
Sure. Okay. I mean, we'll go on to that in a second. But first of all, what position do you think Emil Smith Rowe will come on when we do see him? Do you expect to see him in maybe a left 8 role or a left wing? What do you think we'll see from Emil if we do see, and hopefully when we do see a cameo from him?
I think we'd probably see him in a left 8 role, but I still don't rule out seeing him in a right 8 role. I think it just very much depends on who's fit at the time, what the game is at the weekend. Because, for example, if we have a game midweek and a game at the weekend, it might depend on who we're playing against with a composition of who we're going to play on the pitch at each time. So, for example, I don't know, if we're playing Luton at the weekend, then maybe we rest Ødegaard and start Fabio Vieira. If we're playing a team in the Premier League that thrives more off transitions, I can't think everyone sits back against us nowadays, but yeah. I don't know.
Bournemouth, maybe?
Yeah, I was thinking that, but even still, when we played Bournemouth, they stuck 11 men behind the ball. But anyway, yeah, a team that thrives in transitions. Fulham, I guess, were a little bit, they hold a little bit more of a mid-block than some other teams. But I think that's when we might, basically, it depends on the style of the opposition. But either way, I think Smith Rowe is more suited to those European games.
Sure. Talk to me then about the defensive depth then, because obviously Jurrien Timber came in the summer and everyone, well, me personally, I was really impressed with him during the preseason. The Community Shield, I thought he was the outstanding player for me in preseason, and I was really excited to see how he got on when, the games came around and everyone, the season started to get underway, and I was excited for where he could play. And obviously he got his injury, which was a big disappointment. Arsenal looking to move on Rob Holding, who came in and played a lot of minutes towards the back end of last season. They've got Jakub Kiwior. Gabriel's not really had many minutes. Talk to me then about the defensive, concerns you might have, because what we spoke about in the last episode is that Ben Brownie and Matt kind of agreed on the fact that they felt when Zinchenko comes back into the side, we might see Gabriel and Saliba, everyone kind of shift one position back over to the right, with Zinchenko coming back in. Do you think that will happen? And what are some of your concerns that you've got?
Yeah, I think, and I hope it happens. I think the only reason why it won't happen is because Arteta is being stubborn at this point. I see no reason why White shouldn't go back to right back, Saliba in the middle, Gabriel left centre back, and Zinchenko tucking into midfield. I'm living for the match.
I flicked it back. I just randomly noticed. Brilliant.
It's all natural.
And what confuses me a little bit is that if Timber was let's say the Tierney replacement, so he's replacing Tierney's minutes from last season and maybe some of Holding's minutes, why we no longer have Timber, so we've spent 40 million to solve a problem. We now don't have Timber. Surely someone else has to go into, I guess, effectively play the role that Timber was going to play, because he's not going to be available for us this season. Particularly when we go into the AFCON. Am I making this up? Tomiyasu will be away.
Tomiyasu and Thomas Partey will both be away because there's the Asia Cup, I think, and AFCON. So
yeah.
And I know Alex just put a video about this, about not liking Thomas Partey right back. I absolutely agree with him. I don't think it's particularly an effective solution, but that's not even going to be a possible option when it comes round. And nor will even put in Rice as an emergency centre-back. So by that point, we will literally have the bare bones. And if we don't sign someone before then, I think we're just asking for it.
Apparently, Partey didn't qualify with Ghana. So...
Oh, really? That I didn't realise that.
I didn't realise that either.
But regardless... I think we're asking for trouble if we go into the season without signing any more defensive recruits.
So do you think maybe like a short-term kind of like a loan deal, something like that, just to plug the gap until you hope Timber comes back next season? I know
Maybe
PME is just shouting at the screen right now, Eric Garcia,
Cucurella
isn't he?
type player. I will say, I think Cucurella was Man United fans had a hissy fit when they saw themselves being linked to him. I think played in the right role. I'd love to hear Alex's opinion on this as well. I think played in the right role, he is a decent player, and the right role would effectively be the role that Tomiyasu and Kivio have been playing the last few games. I think that would suit Cucurella quite well. Regardless, yes, whether it's an emergency loan, whether it's, I guess, a season-long loan, not an emergency loan, or someone permanent, and then, I don't know, next season, if we plan to move on Tomiyasu, regardless, as I say, we need bodies, because people were complaining about too much depth earlier in pre-season, and now we're looking at the defence thinking, hang on a minute, all of a sudden we don't have that many members.
Sure. Matt, I wanted to ask you, I know, James, you're pressed for time, so we've got to, make use of you whilst we've got you. But I did want to ask you both about this gentleman, Eddie Nketiah, getting his England first senior England call up. Matt, how good was that to see? And did it take you back a bit? Were you a bit surprised that, it's come so soon, or was it expected? You think it was maybe long overdue?
There was a Champions League draw today, and we haven't been in it for 7 years, but that was the best news of the day. But no, I'm so happy for Eddie. I think it puts across such an amazing message for people who have had adversities, people who, maybe some fans don't rate as highly as they should, or have just gone through times where they're waiting their turn in line. And then when that turn has come, 3 times in a row, that is, the back end, when we were fighting for top 4, he came in and he was probably our best player, more or less. And then the season after that, Gabriel Jesus, our best player, a one-off, gets out for 4 months. And he comes in, scores a brace against United, lovely goal against West Ham, really, really clutch in that period of time. And this season, Gabriel Jesus has been out, and he's been our top 3 best players at the minimum. And I'm just so happy for him, what he's been through at Arsenal, like, not to go dramatic or anything, because that's the way it's heading, but I'm just delighted for him. I think it puts a fantastic message. When you say, do you think it'll be that soon? I think when you look at England, they're absolutely stacked with options going forward. In general, they are, but going forward, as a striker or as a winger, like, you've got the likes of Jarrod Bowen, who's been phenomenal so far, and Raheem Sterling, who's been phenomenal as well, and neither got picked. So I think that just goes to show, and that's just 2 random examples, and that's wingers, but that just goes to show the quality England have at their disposal. So getting picked for the England national team in that number 9 role was absolutely brilliant, and is well deserved. And I think as well, given his pedigree at an under-21 level already, him being a captain as well, I think he's the top goal scorer or record goal scorer for England's under-21s. I think that also carries a lot of weight in that type of discussion. But yeah, really, really happy for him, and I can't wait to see him thrive more.
James, Eddie's looked really sharp in pre-season, hasn't he? I mean, I've been particularly impressed with him. He had a really nice cameo in the Community Shield, and even in the first few games, he's looked really sharp, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I think also it sends a nice message to our other youngsters that if you persist and you keep biding your time, there will be a place in the squad. And look, Nketiah, I don't know, he might want to be a starter somewhere, and maybe eventually he will get that wish. I don't know if he ever will be a starter at Arsenal, but to be a significant rotation option in one of the best teams in the world, for a player, if you told him that 2 years ago, I think he'd be absolutely delighted with it. And he does have a massive role to play in this team. And people, Faisal Khanaj, were complaining about the size of the contract we gave him and stuff. People don't know the details into the goal bonuses, etc., but people were complaining about it. And I think just every game he proves them wrong, in that he has a valuable place in this squad. He's homegrown. He understands the club. And now he's finally getting his chance to show it on the national stage. And I genuinely think that when he plays for England, he will impress.
100%. And Yem's agreeing with you. You've got a nasty cough there, mate. You need to get that sorted out. Take care of yourself, my friend. James, I don't know how much longer we've got you for, but just before you do go, I wanted to talk about the Man United game on Sunday. How much are you looking forward to it? It's a a big opportunity for Arsenal to, going into the international break, just try and end it on a positive, the start of the season. How much are you looking forward to the game? And it's going to be a big atmosphere, isn't it?
I am so excited for that game. I'm very jealous of you being able to go as well. I think it's a big opportunity. It will be, the atmosphere will be electric. I know I got offered. It's my fault. But as I say, no games until
education comes first. No, don't worry, my friend.
Stay disciplined. So
my self-discipline. Otherwise, I'll start letting it loose, and then all of a sudden I will. Because also I got offered Everton away tickets 2 days before my dissertation deadline, which unfortunately I had to turn down as well. So all the opportunities are coming up right now, and none of them I'm able to take. I am so excited. I am maybe a little bit overconfident, but I don't rate United, and I think the last game was a nice wake-up call. I hope that we play the tried and tested method with Rice in the left 8, and we just punish them, because it's been long overdue that we twisted the knife on them. And I don't want to see anything like last season, where we did dominate them, but we conceded 2 sloppy goals and only won 3-2. I'd like to see this season a battering. And look, I'll be grateful for a win, but I really do think
he wants 8.
I think this is a huge opportunity. I don't think we've had an opportunity to slap them around like this in a long time.
Cue the 2-1.
Yeah, I hope not. Or no draw would be horrendous, wouldn't it? Yeah. James, I'm going to let you go. So thank you so much, my friend, for...
No problem at all. I enjoyed it, and we will be back. We will.
Do you say you're going off to play some five-a-side tonight?
Yeah, it's really late, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
It's a late game of five-a-side, my friend.
The games can either be from it's 6 o'clock is the earliest kickoff, and then until like 10:40. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
I'll let you know how it goes. Hopefully we'll have a few goals.
We'll have some clips like we have from the little dodgy camera in the top of the
team. The opposition shouldn't be so good today. Well, I say about the clips. It's not the cameras aren't working at the moment, so kind of annoying.
We'll have to take your word
sorted, and the clips will come. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll say also see you to Yembele and everyone else in the chat. Thank you for having me on. See
Absolutely
you again.
incredible. Thank you so much, James. Really appreciate you. Take care. FC James there. Big thanks to him for joining the stream. Just the two of us, Matt. Great to have you here still, mate. We will talk about a few more things before we do come off air, but everyone that is watching at the moment, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. It would be great to have you here, and it's great to be here as well. What are you putting down for?
Tell you what, that wasn't a bad impression. I did that and then I was like, what am I doing? And then I was like, down below the classic, got to get in the
down below. Yeah, we've got to do the pointing and everything. Yeah, I thought I was doing something wrong. Yeah, great to have James there, and please do subscribe, follow. I'm sure everyone's already following James on Twitter. I think everyone follows him, but yeah, great to have him there. Matt, we'll talk about Man United again in a second, but first of all, the PFA Awards, which were 2 nights ago.
A lot's happened. Wow, a lot. Yeah,
it's been a lot.
Night before, I can't remember. I think
about
it was
2 nights ago. Yeah, and it was. I think it was a bit of a surprise for me to see. Obviously, we all know how good Bukayo Saka is, but I thought Erling Haaland was going to, swoop up both awards. But it's ended up where Bukayo Saka's won Young Player of the Year, and also, as in this picture, William Saliba, Aaron Ramsdale, and Martin Odegaard made the PFA Team of the Season, and it was an incredible campaign last year. And do you like the fact that these, there's more Arsenal bodies kind of in the headlines now, but whereas before, we weren't even getting Arsenal players in like the England setup, but now we just had 4 players called up from the squad, and you've also got others that can be in contention in other times, and you've got players winning awards. Is it nice to see Arsenal back in the headlines again?
I think it's a disgrace because it's not like they're voted by the players. That everyone's favorite player, there's a big agenda against them. But yeah, sorry, just because I've seen various comments on social media. So just to remind people, it is voted by your favorite players and maybe some of your less favorite players. But anyways, off topic. I think it's brilliant to see. I mean, I was especially happy for Aaron Ramsdale to get his due plaudits, because I feel like Arsenal fans, they have a set of players who, no matter what they do, they'll just get criticised. And even the game against Fulham, after the game, I saw people say, "Oh, Ramsdale got Ramsdale this." I don't know what he could have done, because I'm not going to analyze it particularly, right? But the only moment people were going to him for was the goal conceded, and it was a poor back pass and it was a poor defensive positioning from us in general. And Pereira scuffs the finish. It's meant to be a lob, and it gets curled near post. Like, he's scrambling as it is. It just does my head in when I see people coming at things in a more agenda format than a logic format for me. And I think seeing Aaron Ramsdale get in that team of the season ahead of some of people's favourite keepers. I personally think he was a top 2 or top 3 best keeper in the league last season. I'm not against Alisson shouts at all, and I'm not really a player comparison type person, more just appreciating players. But I think Ramsdale did have a brilliant campaign. I'm really, really happy that he has got that global recognition. As I say, it's from the players, so people can run whatever narratives they like.
Matt, you made it clear. You've made it clear. Yeah. We know it's from the players. Don't worry. We know.
All right,
don't worry.
Now that everyone knows fully, no. And then you've got obviously Saliba was brilliant. No brainer really for him to be in the team of the season. And I think his case was definitely helped when his absence was just so obvious to everyone. And obviously Martin Odegaard getting 15 goals, all non-penalty goals as well. Nothing against the penalty goals, but I think that's the highest in Premier League history, bar what Yaya Toure, Dele Alli, and one other I want to say, or something up there. And Bukayo Saka speaks for himself. As you say, him getting the Young Player of the Year was pretty special as well. And once again, it's no more than he deserves, really. You're expecting me to put the player comment again. But yeah, it's no more than Bukayo Saka deserves. And he's such a credit to the club, credit to his country, credit to everyone. 21 years of age, firing on all cylinders. And I can't wait to see what he achieves with this club.
100%. Well, we've spoken about the Champions League draw. Reaction, we've reacted to that. We've spoken about Eddie Nketiah being called up to the England squad, and we have briefly spoken about previewing the game against Manchester United. But I can see, I think the chat box is kind of getting ahead of us on that one, so I think we should catch up and we should talk about the game on Sunday. Oh, mate, I'm buzzing to just be back at the Emirates, because last time we were there was the Emirates Cup, and that was just a day of. That was a frustrating day, wasn't it? I mean, I know Arsenal won the Emirates Cup, and it's an incredibly prestigious award, and great to win it. But it was just filled by fans chanting, "What do we think of Tottenham?" all day, and it just kind of did my head in. But yes, it will be great to be back at the Emirates on Sunday. What do Arsenal need to do to beat Manchester United? Because Yembele has already said that it looks like Reguilon versus Saka. Jaden saying that Arsenal should be beating them and putting out a statement victory. So statement maybe meaning, thrashing them. Yembele is agreeing with that one. Last year was an incredible atmosphere. I remember being there. What do Arsenal need to do to beat Manchester United this time? And what do they need to do? What do they need to do? Do they need a statement victory?
Just got to outscore them. It's not very difficult. Okay. You queued me up for that one. You queued me up for that. But anyways, in a serious nature, I think I don't want to get ahead of myself. And United, I mean, like we have a fantastic record at the Emirates against United. And on paper, we should do incredibly well against them, particularly if we do go back to basics. Like it really should be a comfortable one where we sustain pressure, we create a lot of chances, we dominate. I mean, the spaces they've given up in some of the games they've played so far is pretty alarming. Like the Wolves game, I couldn't really believe my eyes what I was seeing. Didn't see the Forest one, and the Spurs game. I think they had a good first half, second half, not too great. There's good signs from them, and I think it's also an element of unknown if they do get an Amrabat in. Seems like Sergio Reguilon will be Saka's competitor on Sunday, which, bring it on, can be anyone, to be fair. And Rashford will probably go off the left. Seems like Højlund potentially could be making his debut. That's a bit under wraps. So I kind of assume that he will, because that type of thing is quite a normal thing to just keep under the radar, really. But in a nutshell, I think sustaining pressure, keep improving game on game. Every game, I think, so far this season, we've improved. I think from Forest, where we were all right, not awful, but, on another day, it could have been a 4 or 5-0, to Palace, where I think we largely sustained against a very good, or not a very good Palace team, but a very tough away ground. And Palace always is a Monday night fixture. And for them, Fulham, for us to dominate for large parts of the game, aside from sabotaging, which is the main thing I want to see. No sloppy goals given away. I think, ironically, the last great goal I do remember seeing at the Emirates was Marcus Rashford's goal against us last season, which was an absolute stunner. But we both.
Well, I can tell you the last goal that you saw that was a stunner. After that, it was Bukayo Saka's that he literally scored to help Arsenal win the game
for the opposition. For the opposition.
For the opposition. Okay.
Because we've conceded some.
Absolutely. No, I did just accidentally, my mouse somehow pinged one of Yembele's
I clicked it as well, don't worry. So
you clicked it. Oh, okay, that's what
I clicked it.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like, that wasn't me. No, but Yembele, he did say, let me find the comment. Here we go. He said that he wants a standard formation, as James alluded to earlier, Partey in midfield and Rice as a left 8. I think we can all get behind that. I mean, personally, just go back to basics. Zinchenko left back if he's fit enough. Gabriel Tomiyasu, Gabriel Saliba, and then Ben White, and then Declan Rice and Thomas Partey and Odegaard in midfield. I think that's the strongest 11 and what we all want to really see. And I think that would be great if Arsenal can go with that for the game. Is that what you're hoping for, Matt? Because even Jason's saying you want Arsenal to go back to basics as we've seen previously in the season and end this Partey right back kind of experiment.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's no reason to tinker. There's no reason to change about or anything like that. It's just as simple as the same template as the City game, but Eddie Nketiah has got to start for me. I'll go on to Yembele, who said, does Havertz play? It's an interesting one because I think on Kai Havertz, a bit of an elephant in the room. I don't know if I really said this on the first time we recorded post Fulham, but I hate the social media reaction to it. It doesn't surprise me either.
I thought you were going to say you hate Havertz, and I was going to have to put you in your place and say, calm down.
No, I'm not. I wouldn't be like that. Only off camera. No. But it's just, I just don't like it at all. It's almost like people just sell their soul for reactions or will just run agendas on their own player. And I'm just not a fan at all. I'm more a fan of giving players time to bed in, say what you want about the price, say what you want about the league he's been in, the fact he's been in the Premier League. But the fact of the matter is, he's an easy scapegoat. He's a player who most of his work isn't really noticed per se. Okay, he had a poor game against Fulham, but he's 3 games into his Arsenal career. It's a tough system, and it's a big adaptation for Arsenal in itself. In itself, we've agreed that we're experimenting to some degree, trying to flip the dynamics with Thomas Partey as the right back. That in itself we're experimenting with. So I think not jump to conclusions with Kai Havertz, give him time to adapt, put our arms around him metaphorically, and not just be unnecessarily critical or abusive. But and confidence, as Yembele says, is absolutely massive. That is kind of light and day really with footballers. Someone like Kai Havertz, there was obviously that clip where he turned back when he could have run into acres of space. Doesn't look good on him, and but obviously if firing Kai Havertz runs into that space and we create a good chance. But
does he start, Matt? Does he start for you?
I was going to say, to answer that question, no. And that's because we go back to normal dynamics. Eddie's pretty undroppable. And I think it's as simple as that, really.
Okay, Matt. Amazing. Thank you so much to everyone tuned in at the moment or watching back. It's great to have you there. We really appreciate you tuning into our episode. We had AFC James on earlier, the icon himself. So if you want to scroll back and watch it on catch up, you're more than welcome to. Please do subscribe because we do really appreciate as much support as possible. Where Matt's pointing to right down there is where you can subscribe. Mate, I'm buzzing for the game. We're going to finally tee it up, and everyone watching, I want to see some score predictions, please, in the chat. So whilst we're going through this final talking point, please let us know what you think the score is going to be on Sunday at 6:30 at the Emirates. What's the result going to be and the outcome? And when the game's finished, Matt, don't worry.
I was nearly thrown off. I was like,
let us know what's the score going to be and some predictions. Please do let us know. But before we get into them, Matt, are you confident Arsenal can beat Manchester United? I mean, we've kind of gone through it, but United are looking fairly weak, and they need to recruit within the transfer market before the deadline on tomorrow, which I'm buzzing for. I'm going to be up until about 1:00 in the morning, I think, at work, so that's going to be fun. But would you say that you're confident Arsenal can beat Manchester United?
I am. But I do feel like everything has kind of gone in our favour recently, and everything's gone against United, which always leaves me in a bit of a weird place that it's almost too good to be true. Not wishing injuries on anyone, but obviously it benefits us. United not having Raphael Varane, not having Luke Shaw, not having Mason Mount's another who picked up a long-term injury. It's just been an unfortunate time for United. Even Lisandro, I think, was carrying an injury earlier on in the season. So it's just been quite a lot of unfortunate areas for United. And it's almost one where you're like, oh, wow, if Arsenal don't beat United, then, And if United came to the Emirates and beat Arsenal, everyone would be shocked. If Arsenal come to the Emirates and beat United, no one's shocked. If we go thump United, that's obviously what Arsenal fans are hoping for. And that's how reality should be, but football's not always like reality. So it's a tough one. We'll pick up some of the scores people said in the chat. I think 3-1 is what I'd go for, going with the same as Yimbele. What's your prediction, Dan?
Well, I mean, we're going to go through these predictions in a second, but we can go to them now. I mean, I'm going to say, I reckon I don't see Arsenal keeping a clean sheet at home because it's just not happening at the moment. I'm going to agree with MM here, and I'm going to say 4-2 to Arsenal. I think it will be a bit of a goal fest, and I just think Arsenal's attack and the home atmosphere will just get behind the side enough to get them over the line. In the end, Yambele said 3-1 Arsenal, and he reckons that Matt, stop playing with the comments. Yambele reckons that Eddie, Saka, and Declan might score. So, that other comment you did clip that he said where Man United always turn up is very true too. So, it's going to be a big game, and I'm looking forward to it. And we'll have reaction right here on AFC Newsday. So, please, before you leave, please subscribe, like the video, turn on notifications. If you want to follow anyone, then links in the description for all of our stuff. But Matt, before we head off, anything else you wanted to say?
I think for everyone just to enjoy the transfer window. If we don't sign anyone, don't lose your marbles. I hope we do. And if we sign someone you don't like, don't lose your marbles. If a player doesn't play that well, don't go crazy. But yeah, just enjoy the transfer deadline day. Enjoy Arsenal being back to being a top side and a side who is going to do fantastic things from times to come, and seeing the PFA team of the season and Bukayo Saka getting young player of the year is a great sign of that. So yeah, have a great rest of your evenings and lovely day tomorrow. Enjoy the transfer window ending.
Matt J, the voice of reason. You heard it here first. Thank you so much, Matt. Really appreciate your time. Jaden saying he'd love a Declan goal on Sunday. That would go down a treat. And big thanks to Yambele and everyone else in the chat who's got involved with the show. Big thanks, guys. Please do subscribe. Follow us if you fancy, if you want to. Like the video and turn on notifications. And we will catch you very soon. Take care.